welcome everyone to Friday 15 with Master B2B. My name is Brian Beck. I'm here with Andy Hoar, my co-host and partner in the Master B2B Thought Leadership Series and intergalactic community of e-commerce executives from the world of B2B. Andy, welcome to Friday 15.
Yeah, we're going to talk about something new today. It's called AI. Have you heard of it?
No, what's that?
Well, stick around. You'll learn more something today.
Oh, excellent. I usually do. Excellent. So, yes, we're going to talk about AI and how it's impacting search in the world of B2B commerce. It's going to be awesome. But first, before we jump into that, of course, we need to do our breaking news, everybody. So let's see what's going on in the world of AI and search and everything else. Andy, Google leans hard into its AI winner status this week. Earnings announcements this is from the Wall Street Journal. There's an article that was posted. Now, Google released its earnings on, I think, Wednesday, and it said that this growth had accelerated with this is fascinating and shocking. Ad revenue up 14% year over year in the fourth quarter. The company's cloud computing division was even more impressive, revenue jumping 48%. I'm fascinated by that ad revenue. Let's talk about that in a second. These strong results will help investors digest Google's latest investment plan for AI, whatever that is, which includes spending as much as $185 billion in 2026. 185. That's incredible. It's an arms race. But spending what could be 40% of annual revenue on AI chips and related infrastructure is still a sizable gamble. That's a quote from the Wall Street Journal. Andy, these companies are doubling down. Amazon released last night its earnings for a full year 2025 and Q4 2025. $200 billion. I think they said, hey, oh gosh, Google's investing 185. We've got to invest 15 billion more, guys. You know, and the market does not like it. Amazon stock down this morning quite a bit. You know, investors are so short term. Anyway, what's your reaction to all this, Andy?
Well, I'll give you a stat that'll kind of blow you away. So these guys, Google's spending 185. Amazon's going to spend 200 billion. The Wall Street Journal had an article that said that if you take Amazon, Oracle, Meta, add them all up, they're going to spend $600 billion in 2026 on capital infrastructure, mostly AI. That rivals the size of the government spending of Japan. So just to put that in perspective a little bit, but you said it. It's like, you know, we're seeing record sales, record revenue, and then we're seeing pressed or squeezed margins because these guys are reinvesting this in AI. We talked about this last week about the oligopoly that's emerging here. Right. Your point was a good one, which is, the market in the short term hates it, but the market's going to love it in the long term if all these companies are, pulled away from everybody else and basically have working oligopolies, which they will have.
I'm buying more Amazon this morning, folks, because ding dongs are all driving the price down. Hey, great. Awesome. I'm going to buy some more. I've done well with it over the years. Anyhow, but what's fascinating to me too, Andy, is that Google's ad revenue is up, which is shocking because my thought was that they're going to have to eat their own lunch for a while with ads, with the way they've traditionally done advertising with all these answer engines. And then we're going to talk to an industry expert in a few minutes about, kind of what they're seeing in their market. But look, at the end of the day, as search engine traffic declines and those clicks decline, that's the core issue here. We're answering the question without a click with Google Gemini and ChatGPT and all these others. We're going to get into that. But to me, it's fascinating. The revenue's up. I don't know what the heck is driving that. I'm confused.
I think the reason why is because we speculated this was going to cannibalize them, and in the short term, it must have cannibalized. Maybe they're beyond that because the speculation is that the zero click search is so much better and more targeted and performs at a much higher level that it's making up for the lost revenue associated with the old model. Now we'll see, but I can't explain it either. I would have thought if you showed a bunch of different clicks options. That you were monetizing, and now all of a sudden there was just one embedded option, that the one embedded option would make up for the lost revenue associated with the others. But apparently it is, because look at the numbers.
It's bizarre. Well, let's dive into our topic, because it is essentially what we're talking about here, which is moving beyond SEO, which is search engine optimization, the way companies have traditionally optimized, in natural search rankings in Google, the non-paid results when you do a keyword search and, a listing shows up there, for years, companies would emphasize that and try to focus on driving that traffic because there's no click cost. It's quote unquote free. It's earned media. And moving beyond that to mastering what's called AEO, which is answer engine optimization, also known as GEO, generative engine optimization. And this is really, the new frontier, Andy. That's what we're talking about, where there's no click. And what Gartner predicts is that 1/4 of traditional search engine queries are expected to drop in 2026. Traditional search engines, meaning that SEO, as users increasingly turn to AI-powered search engines instead of classic search engine, results. And as we look at the top LLMs currently, where is this? What these AEO engines? ChatGPT is number one at almost 61%. Google number two, Microsoft Copilot number three, and then Perplexity and Claude. It's the top five. This is data as of yesterday, right? And then we look at what's happening in the market. This is all changing. Google is up they're now at 15%. They were at 5.7% a year ago, Andy. And Google is taking share. Where are they taking share? Well, they're taking it, from ChatGPT, it looks like. So, and some of the other engines. So Google, that 185 billion, they're doing that for a reason, right? I mean, this is the future of the business.
Watch Claude, because Claude is now having a moment. This week they launched a new version, and apparently it tanked parts of the market because they launched technology for doing legal work,
right?
And tanked LegalZoom.
Oh, that's right. Yes, that's
Intuit
right.
went down because now people are realizing maybe this can be my built-in accountant.
Right.
I mean, this is the beginning of something here. Now we'll see if it's real or not. I still think there's a hybrid model that's going to emerge. But, we were joking about this yesterday, how much money people are paying for CRM solutions and, QuickBooks and all that stuff. This could put some serious pressure on those businesses.
Oh, big time. And so as you think about it from a B2B e-commerce or digital marketing leadership perspective, it's all about this thing called eat a sub, Andy. It's what is eat? Well, eat is expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. So as a marketer, you think about this, what can you do about this to show up in these engines? And this is really the current state of the art, I guess, or current state of the art as it relates to approach. Talk about what eat is and how this works.
Yeah, we all got to eat. So, when we're talking about a zero-click environment, how is it that ChatGPT and Claude and, Rufus and all the rest of these bots are going to insert your information in the answer? How do you become the zero-click embedded option? And most people believe that the way to accomplish that is via EAT, which stands for expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. And so what you have to do is provide content that matches all three of those things, or at least one of them really well. How do you do that? Well, on screen here, we're showing that, AEO or GEO is about answers, not just rankings. Source attribution favors the authoritative. So you want to be cited as an expert. You want content that shows you to be expert. Now, how we do that, we're going to talk to our guest about that, but there are lots of different ways to do it. You have to do this over time. You can't be a one-hit wonder and say, "Ooh, I know this content really well. We're an expert today on this. What about tomorrow?" Content without authority gets ignored. I mean, it's pretty simple. If you're just blasting out garbage or info slop, it's not going to happen. And then most importantly, misinformation, which, by the way, we're going to be living in a world of that going forward. With AI, gets penalized. So you got to thread this needle. Not easy.
Right. No question. And we did a whole session, folks. Look back at a prior podcast we did, Friday 15, where we talked about a company that actually built on misinformation. Some guy tested a fake company. It was a luxury paperweights company, and it was a fake company, and it got ranked. It got, and in terms of these AEO engines, and they thought it was a legit company. ChatGPT, he fooled them all. So fascinating. All right, so let's get into some nuts and bolts here. We have a special guest today, Mr. Rob Howl, Vice President of Digital Products and Experience at a company called mSupply. Oops, I jumped ahead on our slides there. Let's add Mr. Rob to the stage here. Rob, welcome. Tell us about what mSupply is and what you do there, and just a little bit about the company.
Sure. So mSupply is a multi-billion-dollar private equity owned company that distributes plumbing, HVAC, and appliance parts. So we serve everyone from, regional HVAC companies, servicers, home warranty companies, anybody that's coming into your home or into your office building and making those kinds of repairs. So everything from spare parts all the way to complete HVAC units for residential and commercial applications.
Awesome. So, and Rob, you're a longtime industry veteran. I mean, you look like you're about 21 years old, but but you've been at this for a little while.
Skincare routine, man. I'm not afraid. We can talk about that if you want.
We can talk about skincare. That's all good. Yeah. Yeah. Seriously, dude. I mean, I don't know how you do it, but anyway, you
man. I don't know.
You look awesome. Anyway, but that all said, that aside, this isn't a fashion podcast. Okay. I mean, you've been at this for a long time. You've been in the alcohol beverage space in e-commerce. You've been in building materials. You've been across the gamut, right? Over a couple decades at this point, right? At least 15 years.
Over 15 years. So aerospace, wine and spirits, construction, building materials, and now plumbing, HVAC, and appliance parts. That's right.
So you've seen
that love for B2B.
Yeah, that's awesome. And always digital e-commerce. And so you've seen a lot of evolution. You've done the SEO game obviously for years, and now it's all about AEO. Well, tell us, Rob, what are you dealing with? I mean, this is close to home, right? This topic, and you've got thousands or probably hundreds of thousands or maybe even millions of products. You've got you've got an e-commerce function there. You've got a significant penetration in some of your categories of e-commerce. This is changing the game. Tell us about what you're seeing with this whole evolution.
It's really fascinating. That's why, again, one of the many reasons I love B2B digital so much is the changes are just constant and significant. And this is one of the most nascent and I think important evolutions that's occurring right now. And we're all navigating this world together. Nobody's really totally figured this out. But there's a lot of practical things that we're doing to prepare and compete in this, this new, agentic world. And we're doing this in the context of a complete replatform of a more than a decade old platform, homegrown, e-commerce service, the all-in-one kind of classic, B2B platform. But we're in the throes of that. That's launching, early summer. And as a part of that project, we're obviously investing heavily in SEO, and part of that is related to that is AEO and GEO.
Right.
And to just like kind of parse the two, I wish I could take credit for this, but I saw mention that SEO gets you seen, AEO gets you chosen. It's all about the answer, right?
Yeah.
And that's what it's about, right? Try to acquire new customers and convert them. There's a big difference between being seen and being, selected as the answer, and having that kind of, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness that's required. And so in this project, what we're doing is obviously the fundamentals, blocking and tackling of just solid SEO, but there are more things that need to be done in today's world with AEO or GEO. And the difference between those two, I can't tell you. I think they're synonymous to some extent. Some might say GEO. AEO is a level slightly down. It's all about the answer, but somebody else might know the answer to that one.
I think it's evolving, Rob, right? I mean, there's, it's a definition, and we've lived in this world for a long time. You remember merchandising? Remember that word, right?
Yeah.
Merchandising within search. I mean, there's words for everything, right? And I think it's end up defining itself over time. Rob, I did want to get your reaction to this quote we got on our LinkedIn post, because I think it goes to the heart of the issue here for marketers. This is Glenn Berg from a company called Data Ladder Insight. He said, "I buy the premise that answers are becoming the interface, but I think a lot of teams are over-indexing on tactics and under-indexing on fundamentals." He talks about starting with crisp problem framing for B2B, consistent naming, proof points, things like that. Here's the key, though, that he asked about, and I think it does get to the heart of it. Curious how you're thinking about the attribution when the buyer shows up and is already convinced, but you never got the click. So how do you deal with that? How do you know you're being successful, Rob, without a click, right?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I agree with Glenn's perspective there. I mean, it seems like an AI strategy is only as good as your product data, right? It's
Sure.
kind of as sexy and exciting as AI is. It in this particular context, it's kind of the boring blocking and tackling of well managed product data and everything that goes into that. So having a clean taxonomy, having normalized attributes, having clear descriptions, all that stuff is there. But there's more that needs to be done, exactly to Glenn's point about tactics versus fundamentals. And one of the new fundamentals is going to be things like FAQs and even an organic kind of Q&A section. And that significantly buoys the EAT score, if you will, for how your site is seen as an authority in that space. So think about common questions that come into, if you've got, like we do, we've got technical engineers that work with professionals in the field every day. Is this part compatible with this end unit? What does this error code mean? What is the common kind of protocol for fixing or troubleshooting this? And translating those into 50, 75 word quippy responses that can be indexed. Really, that's the goal that these generative engines are mining for.
So Rob, how do you create the authoritativeness in your industry? I mean, especially vis-a-vis user-generated content. You just gave an example about you work with people in the field, but that feels like something, especially writ large, if it goes viral, where if you've got an HVAC repair guy who's nailed a problem and you create a video out of that and you snippet that thing up, and then when people have that use case, that's what appears, as opposed to, let's face it, company marketing spin. But how do you do that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think a lot of other companies in industries like ours have significant tribal knowledge or decades of experience. Individuals with decades of experience really know and understand their particular domain. Questions come in over the phone, over email, even in a chat bot. And we've talked in other conversations about how do you bring that to a digital conversation, to a product detail page, or to a knowledge base. And so this kind of takes it into almost an SEO structured way that the engines can actually communicate with. So it's like taking those technical inquiries and answers and feeding them back into your kind of generative, product strategy and data governance.
It's fascinating to me, guys. It almost feels like we're stepping back from a marketer's standpoint. You remember, when TV advertising was the standard, or I mean, you guys, Rob, you're far too young. However, those of us who are older, remember when marketing was not as measurable as it has been in the last 15, 20 years, where you could see clicks, direct attribution, last click attribution. Are we heading back to an impression world where, in terms of like thinking about, how many impressions, because I can't really see what's happening. To me, and I don't think there's an answer yet, guys. I don't think that we have like the technology or yet there's some tools that seem to be emerging that can measure kind of your voice or your share of voice in these answer engines. But to me, it's still an evolving science, and it's going to continue to be. And my hope is that, for example, Google, when they released Google Analytics as a free analytics tool 15 years ago, or whenever that was, they actually provided marketers with tools to start measuring the impact of, the search and across their websites. So you put tags on your site. You remember this, Rob? You put tags on your site and you use Google Analytics or Omniture back in the day to do all this. But it was, these days, I mean, there's got to be some tools that emerge that do this and do it accurately. And my hope is that Google is thinking about that as in the course of that $185 billion investment. Go ahead, Andy.
I think the problem is everything but the last click, right? If you think about it in terms of a funnel or a process, that'll be embedded in the answer from Gemini. You'll click on the link and you'll get the selection, to use Rob's term.
But there ain't no click, dude.
The problem is how do you measure the scene? Right. How do you measure the top of the
impression?
Funnel, right?
It's the same thing with television.
Google could do that with its existing measurement techniques, but if it's only last click, then how do you as a marketer, which by the way, e-commerce generally gets credit for the last click. How do the marketing people justify what they're doing to create all this content to get the last click? Rob?
Yeah, it's a tough question because, and we kind of deal with this every day in B2B commerce. There could be multiple touch points, but at the end of the day, we celebrate a win. An order is an order, whether it's phone, fax, email, messenger, pigeon. We're happy to book an order.
Right.
In this case, it's so early. I certainly don't have like a purely authoritative answer on the attribution side, but what I will say, from a tool standpoint and from a practical, practitioner standpoint, being AEO ready, right? SEMrush has some great tools that can, index your site, and just like they do on the SEO side, and give you a sense for how well you're doing relative to, any number of benchmarks. How you end up connecting the dots for attribution is another story. One of the practical other, ways to think about this is, especially if you're just getting started, if you almost approach it like an A/B test, right? If you pick, 50, 100, 1,000 SKUs, and maybe kind of split them and look, apply some of these techniques around, the FAQs and a proper schema, all of this. The others, just leave them as SEO and see what the lift is in a like for like kind of scenario, and answer the question for your own business. But at least at the high level, you would understand how ready or not you are from an AEO scoring standpoint. Yeah.
Well, for our technology community, I hope they're listening, because there's a bunch of business ideas in here, right? Yes. A/B testing for search relevancy and LLMs, the tracking, things like that. I think we're gonna see more driving towards more other kind of top level metrics, like around share. I love my share of wallet, Andy. That metric, like how much are we getting from customers? But ultimately, marketers have to make a decision on where they invest their dollars and resources related to AI, related to search, traditional search. So let's share a couple things, a couple stats, and Rob, get your take on these two quickly. We asked the community a year ago, not quite, actually it wasn't even a year ago, it was June of last year. When will GEO or AEO become more important in driving traffic versus traditional search engine optimization? Everyone said, oh, it's a year. 76% said it's a year out. Some said, about 21% said 3 years out. Well, we asked a similar question this week. Has your company shifted resources away from traditional SEO towards AEO? Guess what? 83% said their AEO is now the focus, not SEO. So, Rob, they're thinking the same way you are. Does that surprise you at all?
It doesn't, but I think it's an and situation, not an or, because SEO is not going away. It's now just, how these roles are, right? You just get more put on your plate. I think that's really what this is. You can't just do one or the other. You got to be able to do both. And that's
more to do.
Reality. Exactly. Yeah.
That's right. Reality. So, that's great. Well, hey, Rob, listen, we're up on time, and thank you so much for being part of our Friday 15 and part of our community. You've been a longstanding member of our community, or an expert advisor with our expert advisor program with Nexus. So, and you're a trophy winner, the Hacksaw Howl. Excellent. Right. You won a debate. You must have been on Andy's team.
Goes without saying.
Anyway, but thank you, Rob, so much for being a part of this. We appreciate it. We're going to see you at our summit in a month or so, and we're excited to see you there. And thanks again for joining and your thoughts.
Thanks for having me, guys. Always a pleasure.
Awesome. Couple quick announcements before we wrap our Friday 15. First of all, I just referred to our summit, Andy. It's coming up quick. March 10th and 11th at the University of Chicago, our annual Mindshare Summit, 2 days, bigger and better than ever, an amazing agenda. We have a lot of people coming to this. We're about 95% full. If you want to join us, please submit your information now. Go to masterb2b.com, look for Summit under events, and you can submit a request to join us. And our Nexus program also is coming along. Thank you, Andrew. Our Nexus program is coming along really nicely. We've got a bunch of folks that are joining this, and this is an expert advisory service on demand for e-commerce and digital professionals. We connect you with folks like Rob to solve issues, to answer questions, to avoid risk. It is a paid service. You can find out more by going to masterbdb.com and click on Nexus. And finally, I want to remind everyone that our Friday 15 is available in podcast form on your favorite podcast. Rob told me before we started today, Andy, that he listens religiously. I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe he was just being nice to us, but we appreciate that, Rob. And please, folks, give us a review if you can. Andy, that wraps our Friday almost 20. Oh my gosh, almost 27 minutes. Wow, this has been a long one, but a good one. Any final words?
Yeah, just we forgot to mention this, that this topic will be covered at the summit.
Oh, that's right. Thank you.
Will, in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be previewing additional topics. So we're going to go into much more detail live and in person at the summit. So again, if you can make it, sign up soon because we are literally almost full.
Awesome. Thanks everyone for listening. We'll see you on our next Friday 15.